What if I told you that New York City almost didn't belong to Manhattan, but to Queens? What if the future of America quietly unfolded in a place most people still overlook? Before the skyline, before the subway maps, before JFK Airport welcomed the world, Queens was forest, marshland, and small scattered villages along the edge of the East River. Windmills turned in the distance. Dirt roads cut through farmland. It was quiet, almost invisible. In 1683, the English named it Queen's County after Catherine of Braganza, the Portuguese Queen of England, a royal name for a place that, at the time, was mostly farmland and fishing towns like Flushing, Jamaica, and Newtown. Each was its own world with its own rhythm and identity. But here's something most people don't know. In 1657, in the village of Flushing, residents signed a document called the Flushing Remonstrance. They were protesting religious persecution under Dutch rule. They argued that freedom of conscience belonged to everyone, not just the powerful. This happened more than a century before the Bill of Rights. In what is now a busy New York neighborhood, ordinary people risked punishment to defend an idea that would later define America. Queens wasn't loud about it, but it was early. For centuries, Queens remained separate from Manhattan's growing shadow. When New York City consolidated into 5 boroughs in 1898, many in Queens resisted. They feared losing their identity. They didn't want to be swallowed by the city. But joining New York changed everything. Farmland turned into neighborhoods. Railroads connected villages. Roads expanded. Industry arrived. And then came a moment that transformed Queens forever. In 1939, the World's Fair came to Flushing Meadows. But that land wasn't a beautiful park at the time. It was a massive ash dump, once described as a valley of ashes, an industrial wasteland. From that grey landscape rose futuristic towers called the Trilon and Perisphere. Millions visited to see the world of tomorrow. They saw early television, futuristic highways, bold visions of suburban life. The future debuted in Queens. It happened again in 1964. The Unisphere, that giant steel globe, became a symbol of global unity. While the country wrestled with civil rights movements and social change, Queens quietly became a meeting point of cultures and ideas. Then something even more powerful happened. After immigration laws changed in 1965, the world began arriving in waves. Latin America, South Asia, East Asia, the Caribbean, Eastern Europe. Today, more than 150 languages are spoken in Queens. It is often called one of the most diverse places on Earth. Walk down Roosevelt Avenue and you can travel continents in a few blocks. Greek bakeries in Astoria, Colombian restaurants in Jackson Heights, Sikh parades in Richmond Hill, historic synagogues in Kew Gardens. Each neighborhood feels like its own country, yet somehow all of it is one borough. And then there's aviation. Before JFK Airport became one of the busiest international gateways in the world, Queens was already part of early flight history. By the mid-20th century, what was once Idlewild Airport became the front door to America. For millions of immigrants, Queens was the first breath of American air. Imagine stepping off a plane into a new world, new language, new fears, new hopes. Queens wasn't just geography, it was possibility. But Queens also shaped culture in ways many people don't realize. In the 1980s and 90s, neighborhoods like Hollis and Queensbridge helped define hip-hop's global rise. From public housing complexes came artists who transformed music forever. From concrete came rhythm. From struggle came voice. The sound of Queens traveled far beyond New York. Through every transformation, like colonial farmland, industrial ash dump, global fairground, immigration gateway, where Queens adapted, it endured economic struggles in the 1970s. It felt deep loss after September 11th, when thousands of residents who commuted to Manhattan were affected. Yet communities stood together. Different languages, different faiths. One borough. Here's the overlooked truth. Queens doesn't demand attention like Manhattan. It doesn't market itself like Brooklyn. It doesn't have one defining skyline that appears on postcards. Instead, it has something more powerful. It absorbs the world. It was farmland that became neighborhoods, ashes that became a world stage, villages that became one of the most diverse places on Earth. It never tried to be the center of everything, yet somehow the world came to it. So next time you land at JFK, ride the subway through Flushing or past the Unisphere rising above the park, remember this. You're not just moving through another borough. You're walking through one of America's earliest fights for freedom, through the gateway of millions of immigrant dreams,